Hello all and welcome to another Questions of Life. Today's question is, can people change? Posed by a Warbore. And as I am answering this question, you can all enjoy some gameplay of Devil May Cry 1 and watch me suck ass at it. So without further ado, let me begin. After investigating this question a little bit further, I found some interesting niches in it. First and foremost, I do believe that people can change. To present my argument, I will reiterate what I believe a Warbore means by the question, then I will share some insight I had about it. Next, I'll explain what I think human nature really is, and finally, how humans can come to change. First, I believe what a Warbore meant by the question was whether or not people's fundamental natures change, or if their reasoning deems that their nature should be concealed, or they should act in a different way that isn't in accordance with their nature. This raises the question now, well, what is nature? I want to define and try to pin down the definition so that we can talk about it. I think the nature of a thing is how it really is without a convention or law forced upon it. Heraclitus, a pre-Socratic philosopher, says oxen are driven to pasture by blows. The astute observation brings light that an ox's nature is not to plow fields, but is forced to do so by us, by humans. In the case of human nature, ours would be something that is devoted to society and laws like an ox. We are beasts that only care for survival. Any human given the power would always act in their best interest. That is what the majority of us believe human nature to be. Next, I would like to share some insight that I came across in investigating this question. Through the investigation, I found myself thinking about Ayn Rand. She proposed a moral structure where we never do things against our self-interest. For example, a human would undergo extreme turmoil to keep his body in shape just so he could avoid health problems down the road. The example illustrates that even when something seems harmful, if we benefit in the end from doing it, then we'll do it. The pros outweigh the cons, in other words. Furthermore, whenever we desire something, it is because we believe that thing is a benefit. One would never desire something if they believed it would bring harm and no benefit to himself. For example, if a person was to pursue self-harm, we would say that they are misinformed about what is good for him. This is why we have suicide hotlines and therapy. Those things rehabilitate the misinformed and give them the knowledge to pursue what is in their self-interest. Alternatively, knowledge informs our opinion about what is the best course of action, and in accordance with our nature, we take that path. On the other hand, if we suppose that all of humanity is inherently selfish, then behind all of the selfless acts is a selfish intent. Selfish intent guided by the principle of reason. However, I don't think this gives us the full picture about human nature. This leads me into what I believe human nature really is. I don't believe it is dictated by our best interest. I believe that human nature is based on faith at the basic level. If we undergo meditation in Descartes fashion and try to rebuild everything we believe to be true from nothing, we would be in dire straits. Even Descartes' own cogito ergo sum can be called into question by Buddhism. If we are not allowed to think at the least, I exist, what's left? Nothing. In the vast abyss, reason leaves us bereft and coherent thoughts elude us. The only thing that we can do is take a leap of faith. From this faith, we base everything. Even in mathematics, we always start with something that is given, something that we just have to assume is true. Gödel ventured far into this abyss and came back with the same answer. When we fall back to basic reason for why we believe what we believe, we come up short. Rather, on faith, we take the premises to be true. For example, a necessary truth is that 2 equals 2. However, we have no reason to believe that the operation plus can make 1 plus 1 equal 2. Likewise, we have no reason to believe that everything we do is in our self-interest. This isn't a necessary truth. It may so happen that this is what most people do, and for them, that is the truth, but they have no reason to believe this. When the world of becoming is stripped away and reason is asked to account for why human nature is as such, we would be met with silence. It is only through a leap of faith that we can start moving forward and out of the void of nothingness. So, I've laid out what I think human nature is. An empty vessel adrift a sea of nothingness that only starts moving forward because it chooses to believe in something based on faith. There is a difference between the being of human nature and how it manifests in the world of becoming. To illustrate this, observe that bees appear in all shapes and sizes, but the being of a bee and what makes a bee is the same throughout each bee. The being of human nature is that it ultimately takes something on faith, and from that everything else is derived through experience or reason. Individual natures, like bees, are subject to appear in various ways in the world of becoming. To see how this nature can change, I would like to give a rather lengthy example. A man lives his life only ever seeing red apples. For decades, he believes that red apples are the only apples that exist. On his deathbed, a boy brings him a yellow apple. The man doesn't know it's an apple, as he takes on faith that all apples are red. His reasoning is that apples are only red because those are the only ones that he's seen. But once he bites into the apple, he recognizes the familiar taste. When he presses the boy for what the fruit is, the boy says, "It's an apple." Here, the man can make a choice. Either he amends his faith and accepts that some apples are not red, or he stays headstrong and claims that this apple-like fruit is not an apple, but some new fruit. That, I believe, is the beauty in our natures. Our choices can shape it and make it either for the better or for the worse. This is how I believe people can change. So, thank you for sticking around until the end. If you have something to say about this, feel free to speak your mind. And remember, drive fast, take chances, and always be excellent to each other.